All right, 97.7 Outlaw Radio FM listeners, we are live with a Canadian hip hop legend. We have the one and only DJ Merciless. He is, of course, a DJ and also a producer that is doing phenomenal things for Canadian hip hop and hip hop all over the world. How are you doing this evening, DJ Merciless?
I'm doing great.
I gotta say, first and foremost, man, as a fellow Canadian, I've been a fan of yours for a long time, man. So just thank you for giving us a little bit of your time this evening just to come on and talk about your stuff.
Yeah, no problem.
But I want to take you back to the beginning, man. And I gotta ask, like, what actually inspired you to actually get into the music industry initially, man? Because your DJ technique and your producing style is so unique, man. I've always wondered what actually fueled DJ Merciless from the start.
You know, it was just growing up probably around it. I would say in the early 90s, I moved from Scarborough to Oshawa, and that kind of catapulted me into, okay, what do I want to do? Because there wasn't that much stuff to do out there other than get into trouble or either get into music, you know? So I picked music.
And I gotta say, it most definitely was definitely a good choice for that. I'll tell you that for
Yeah, sure.
But also as well, taking you back to 2001, I remember back in the day you actually did some amazing production work for an individual by the name of Tara Chase on the song The North Side, man. I was wondering, how did yourself and Tara get connected, and what was it like working on the North Side with her?
That was a link through a mutual friend. And yeah, one day she came over to the crib and was like, yo, I'm looking for production because the people she was working with weren't giving her beats. So that was just one of the tracks that caught her ear. And yeah, the rest is history.
And I have to ask as well, like, what actually happened to her? Because I do know, like, the North Side was huge. But unfortunately, I don't really see her doing very much stuff anymore.
I know that she was going to school at the time, so it was hip hop in school, and then I think she ended up having a kid, and then I don't know.
Well, you know what? If she does happen to listen to this, you know what I mean?
I don't know if she does it as much as people want her to do it. You know?
Most definitely. If she is listening to this, at least she knows that she's still being thought of so many years later.
Yeah.
And also, as well, you actually had the opportunity to work with another phenomenal female MC by the name of Eternia. I believe that was in like the mid to early 2000s. I was wondering, how did yourself and Eternia get connected?
That was through another mutual friend. So that was through a manager of G Night at the time. He had linked us, and yeah, we just hit it off. She's good peoples, and yeah, I ended up doing the first two singles off of her album.
And I still remember the one you did It's Called Life. I believe that's the album. I think the song was Evidence, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Phenomenal production job.
Thank you. That funny story about that beat. That beat was actually supposed to go to Prodigy.
Really?
Yeah. So I knew Prodigy's cousin who lives up here, and he was. I think he was there the day I made the beat, and he was flipping out. He was like, "Yo, Prodigy would kill this. Yo, let me call my cousin." You know, and then he called him, and we were supposed to link, and then yeah, they just had a falling out, and then it just never went through.
Hey, but you know what? I can tell you, it would have been really cool to hear Prodigy on that beat, but I gotta say, Eternia definitely murdered that beat as well.
Oh yeah, she killed it.
But honestly, now hearing that, it really makes me think, like, what if Prodigy actually had that beat, man? I don't know, like that. It really makes me think now, you know?
Yeah.
But also, oh, sorry about that, Merciless.
What's that? No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, as you were actually a member of the group, the Moon Crickets, alongside with Killa Priest and Lord Fury. I was wondering, can you tell our listeners a bit more about that phenomenal group, and of course, how did you actually get connected with the other members?
Well, I knew Fury like from back in the days. Again, through mutual friends, this is becoming a theme. So it's mutual friends with all these links. So he basically, Rock was the link with Fury. So he was recording at my crib, and he was like, okay, I got this track that I produced for him, and he wanted to put a couple of people on it. G-Night was one, and Fury was the other one. So he's like, yeah, if you guys ever hook up and meet, wow, you guys could do some crazy things. And he was right. So we ended up doing the track that day. He loved the production, and then we just hit it off, and he was like, yo, play me some more. And he just kept loving the production. So then he was like, okay, let's start doing shit. And then basically years later, Killer Priest came into the picture, and that was all Fury just basically going to the concert, talking to him, and he ended up convincing him to come to the crib the next day. And yeah, the rest is history.
And I gotta say, my favorite album that you guys actually put out was Death in the Arena, man. One of my absolute favorite albums that you guys actually put out.
Okay. Yeah, that was a album that was like, we sat down and listed all the MCs we wanted to be a part of that album. And we basically got most of our wish list. As you can tell, there's a lot of features on that album.
And I could be mistaken as well, but I think I believe the vinyl copy actually contains a bonus track, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember exactly what the bonus track was, but I do know there was something in there.
Yeah, there was a bonus track called "Aw Shit." So on the CD version, there was like a little interlude with Ghostface, but the vinyl contained the bonus track. Because, you know, I'm a DJ, so I like to give the DJs that extra special bonus, you know? Just like back in the days when DJs mattered more than they seem to matter now, you know?
Yeah, I gotta say, hip-hop most definitely took a big 360, man. It's definitely different than what it was back in the day.
Yeah. So I'm trying to bring the relevance of the DJ back at some point.
And also in 2015, you actually performed on the Canadian tour with Ghostface Killah and a bunch of other WuTang members. I was wondering if you could tell our listeners a bit more about that phenomenal tour, and of course, what cities did you actually hit during that Canadian tour?
We hit the West Coast, so it was Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton. I think we missed the Winnipeg one. Toronto, of course. Quebec City. It was a good tour. It was a lot of obviously WuTang fans, and yeah, it was basically my first tour.
And I gotta say as well, like, I actually went to a Wu-Tang Clan show actually in Ottawa a couple years back, and I've been to a lot of hip-hop concerts in my life, man, but experiencing a Wu-Tang crowd was just crazy, man. I gotta say, that crowd is most definitely different than any other hip-hop shows I've been to. Like, I don't know, it might just be me,
Sure.
but the crowd was just freaking crazy.
Because you gotta think, okay, the legacy of Wu-Tang, like, it's 20 plus years now. It's not every day that you get to see them, so the energy's a little bit different. It's almost like how rock and roll people would look at like a Rolling Stones concert. You know, those fans are like, they're so into it. They'll buy up all the merch. They'll even go to multiple stops because they love them that much, and they continue to do it every time, you know? So it's just different, for sure.
And when we're still on the topic of the Clan, I also noticed as well that you had the opportunity to DJ at the 20th anniversary concert. And I have to ask, man, like, coming from a fellow DJ, what was that like actually being able to be a part of Wu-Tang Clan history by being able to DJ at their 20th anniversary?
that was a special night in my career for sure. Because for one, it's an honor to be part of that kind of history, and I just love playing real hip hop and for people to appreciate it. A lot of times I'll play real hip hop and people will just be like, whatever, yeah, that's cool. But there's certain nights where there's real heads in the place, and playing in front of a packed 3,000 people in that place was just electric, because everybody was anticipating Wu-Tang, right? So we had like a few opening acts. They were cool. But I set it off with the DJing part, and the energy was like crazy for that 2-hour set.
And I gotta say, it most definitely would have been an amazing experience just to even be in the crowd for that, man. You know what I mean? 20th anniversary.
Yeah, no, they were going off.
But also as well, man, aside from the concerts here for a few minutes, you were actually featured in Validated Magazine. I have to ask you, how did that opportunity come to be for you, and what was it like being featured in a magazine? Because I do know, unfortunately, nowadays, magazines are really becoming scarce.
Yeah, that was really random. Like, they hit me up online, I think it was on Instagram, and just asked if I would do it. And I was like, yeah, of course, sure. Why wouldn't I do it? It's an honor to be part of that stuff, and people wanting to know more about you and what you do, and just for anybody to be interested in someone who's trying to do real hip-hop these days, I'm not going to say no to that, you know?
Most definitely. And also, like they always say, all promotion is good promotion as well.
For sure. Especially if they take their time out to want to promote what you do. You know, I'm not going to say no to that.
And also as well, going into September 2018, you actually had the opportunity to perform at the Mop concert alongside fellow Toronto artists Concrete Mob. I was wondering, what was that experience like for you, and did you get the opportunity to chop it up with Mop after the show?
Which show are you talking about? Because I wasn't at the MOP one. I think you might be mixing that up with the Cool G Rap.
Yes, my apologies.
Okay. It is funny that you said MOP, because I was supposed to spin at a MOP, but then that got messed up with the promoter. The promoter decided to cheap out and get some resident DJ to do it, and then I heard he messed up the whole night. So that's funny that you actually said MOP.
Well, you know what? Sometimes promoters can get janky, but when you be janky,
sure,
you definitely get janked in the long run as well. So I bet you kicked himself in the ass for that one.
Never cheap out on the DJ. But yeah, the Cool G Rap, that was another special night. Like, because Cool G Rap to me is one of my all-time favorite MCs. Like, he's in my top 3. Like, he's been in my top 3 since like 91.
Hey, well, you know what? I bet your inner child that night was definitely raging, man, being like, I got you at the DJ for one of my favorites.
Yeah, for sure. It's crazy. And I might be working with Cool G Rap later on this year, but we'll see about that. But that's definitely on the table.
And also, you had the opportunity to produce the song Put In That Work by Unusual Suspects out there in Toronto. I was wondering, how did you actually get connected with them? And what is it like working with that fresh hip-hop duo that's emerging into the Canadian hip-hop scene?
Usual Suspects are actual friends of mine that I basically DJ'd their first 2 mixtapes, and I was like, yo, you guys should really think about doing like a serious project. And then it just kind of worked out, because I was feeling their style. There's not too many duos around, so I was like, you know what? Let me produce a couple songs. Then after a couple songs, I was like, okay, let's do an EP. Then after we had enough for an EP, we were like, yo, this stuff is really good. Let's do an album. So that's where we are right now with the whole Usual Suspects adventure, let's say. So we are planning to probably bring out a full-length LP in October.
And I gotta say, Usual Suspects is a phenomenal hip-hop duo, man. They are definitely what Canadian hip-hop needs, man. I'm gonna tell you, they're definitely gonna blow up and go worldwide. I can tell you that for a fact.
Yeah, well, right now we're doing pretty good. Like, there's stations playing us in like Japan apparently. Definitely in Europe, they're starting to play. Really, Canada's the last, which is kind of sad, but you know that's what happens when you're trying to do real stuff, right?
But also as well, man, I gotta say, I actually have them coming on the radio station, I believe, next month. All thanks to MJ's Hip Hop Connects. I know she does a phenomenal things for people's careers.
Yeah, no, she's doing a great job for sure. And I got hooked up with her through Soul Rack. I don't know if you're familiar with his stuff.
Most definitely phenomenal Florida artist. I believe he's out there in Florida. I had him on. I think about last month, and I believe he mentioned he was actually from Florida.
Okay, yeah, and I'm working on a EP with him right now.
I gotta say, you know, that's gonna be phenomenal with that Canadian production sound and Soul Rack on the beat. I'm telling you, man, that's gonna wash one hand with the other.
Yeah, I hope it does. So far, so good. We're 2 songs in. We're going to start working on a couple more probably tomorrow. And, yeah, we're going to see what that says.
But I got to ask you, what is next for you? Because I know you just mentioned you're working with Soul Rack on a new record. You're working with the Usual Suspects. But other than that, what is next for you? Is there anything I happen to miss during this interview? Anything else you do want to talk about or promote?
I have an album coming out with Ason Eastwood. That should be late September, and that one's featuring Benny the Butcher, Ito's on the album, Conway's on the album, who else? Junior Cat's on the album, Dreadpool's on the album, and we got a couple more surprises.
I gotta say, it most definitely sounds like another phenomenal project. It sounds like 2021 is your year, man.
Well, this is supposed to be the year because we have that project dropping in September, hopefully. Then we have Usual Suspects in October. Then we have my album in November, and then Lord Fury should be dropping an album in December. So the last quarter is going to be big for us at Supreme Jeans Records.
But Merciless, this is the time in the interview quickly, right before I wrap things up, that I give a chance for the individual that slides into the radio station airwaves, just a chance to give shoutouts to whomever they want to give shoutouts to, but most of all, your social media handles. That way our listeners can follow you and stay updated everything DJ Merciless if they're not already doing so.
Okay. You can catch me on Instagram at DJ Merciless. That would be my Instagram. I don't really use Twitter too much, but it's the same on Twitter. If you need any merchandise, records, vinyl, CD, that would be at supremejeansrecords.bandcamp.com.
But I gotta say, first and foremost, DJ Merciless, thank you so much for just taking the time out of your busy evening and coming on 97.7 Outlaw Radio FM. Definitely was an honor and most definitely a privilege.
Yo, thank you.
But I gotta say, man, most definitely have yourself a wonderful night out there in Toronto, and you know, I most definitely, hopefully we do this again sometime soon.
Okay, no problem. Anytime.
Most definitely, Merciless. Have yourself a wonderful night.
All right, you too. Peace.